Fat Boy, and here are my NBA game predictions for February 15th of 2022. Tonight there is 7 games. I'll be going over the spreads and over-unders for each of these games. For Dallas at Miami, so I'm going to lean towards Dallas plus 3.5. Overall, I do expect this game to be pretty even, and personally, I wouldn't bet on the spread, but if I had to lean towards one team, I just lean towards Dallas. Both teams play good defense. Dallas is pretty much the same because they're playing well without Porzingis on the floor. Then with him gone, I think we're going to see relatively the same product overall from the Mavericks. And then the Heat, they're pretty consistent too. So I think with these two teams meeting up, it's going to be just a defensive battle overall. It's just pretty much if like does Luka have a great game, they'll probably lead Dallas towards winning. If Miami figures out a way how to slow him down or at least make him struggle to get his points, then Miami should come away with the win. But I'm just going to lean towards Dallas. I will be going under 214.5 as, once again, I do expect this to be a more defensive battle overall. This shouldn't really turn out into a shootout. But overall, this is a game where I'd probably bet more on the players than actual just the overall outcome of the game both ways. For Boston at Philadelphia, I'm going to lean with Philadelphia plus 1.5. So now Philadelphia doesn't have like Seth Curry, so they're going to rely more on Maxey and even more on Embiid to try and beat the Celtics, who have been playing very well as of late. Kind of hard to beat Boston right now, but I think Philadelphia's going to make it tough, and that's what I'm going to lean towards. Philadelphia at least keep it within a point. I think Boston really doesn't have an answer for Embiid, and they're also playing at Philadelphia, so that's just a little boost for the Sixers. I think this will end up being a more defensive battle, like a slower paced game too, hence why I'm leaning towards under 211. I think the Sixers have good matchups against Tatum and Brown. That they'll have to really work to get their points this game, and I think that's going to pay dividends for the Sixers, why they'll be able to probably come out with a win. But overall, I think there's also a lot of pointers for Boston winning too, as they're one of the hottest teams right now, playing very well as of late. So this is probably one of those like 50 games, like a coin toss game, and probably another one of the games where I won't be betting on the spread on this. Probably more safe to bet on player props for this game. But what I would put for spread and over under would be Philadelphia plus 4.5 and under 211, as this should be a defensive battle. For Cleveland at Atlanta, so it seems like it's a good night for Eastern Conference games, as a lot of close games overall. This should be another one of those, and I'm just going to have to lean towards Cleveland with this one, even though this is another one of those games where I probably won't be betting on the spread. But I will lean towards Cleveland in this case, because Cleveland's just been more consistent throughout the year, while Atlanta's kind of been up and down. I know this is second half of the season, Atlanta, so they can pull out some impressive wins, but they've also have lost a few games recently too. So it's just what team decides to show up for the Hawks, which if it's like the top tier version, it's kind of hard to beat Atlanta. But with Cleveland, you just get a more consistent product overall. So hence why I just got to lean towards Cleveland. I will be going under 220.5, as Atlanta struggled in their last game against Boston scoring, and I don't see them pulling like over 115, especially against Cleveland, who does have some decent defense or some at least strategies to slow down the other team. So hence I'll be going under 220.5. And also Cleveland's not known for a crazy amount of scoring. Like they're not pulling like over 120 a night either. So hence I'm going under 220.5. But overall, just this is probably another one of those games where it's just better bet on the player props rather than the spread, as this game. For Memphis at New Orleans, I'll have to lean towards Memphis minus 3.5. So as of right now, Ja Morant is day-to-day, but even factoring that New Orleans play last night, I'd still lean towards Memphis minus 3.5, because as Ja Morant's been out this season, Memphis can still come away with wins, as just their system, it's able to just plug in players and get results. So just going to have to lean with that. Also, with Memphis being one of the top teams of the Western Conference, they have that adaptability factor, which helps them come out with wins where their best player isn't there. So a lot more tickers pouring towards Memphis. And as for New Orleans, they have been playing better, but I think Memphis is just better overall. I will be going under 223.5 as with Memphis winning, that means they'll be winning with their defense. So overall, that means the score should be a little lower. Hence, I'll be going under 223.5 as the guys who will be on the floor for Memphis will be energy guys who are just going to fight for the loose balls and just get the rebounds and just have the ball more in their possession rather than New Orleans slow down the game, pace of the game, under 223.5. But if Morant is back for the game against the Pelicans, like this should be easy win for Memphis. For Charlotte at Minnesota, we go with Charlotte plus 6.5, and then under 244, which that was the current spread I saw on FanDuel, which both these teams are very high scoring. But I think one team is going to fall into a slump, even though this will be up and down all game. But one team I just feel like is going to get cold for a quarter and just hold this under 244. But I will be leaning towards Charlotte plus 6.5 as Minnesota. They've been struggling a little bit as of late and having some more losses. I can see both these teams winning one way or another, as if one team just stays hot all game, kind of hard to stop that. And both teams' defense kind of sporadic too. Minnesota's more on the gambling type than Charlotte's they just give up a lot of points. But I think overall, they should stay fairly close, as I'll just lean towards Charlotte plus 6.5. Overall, probably wouldn't be betting the spread on this game. If I did, I'd just probably lean towards like a Minnesota win. But overall, this would just be a game where you just bet on like people making threes and scoring a lot of points. But we'll be holding that under 224, not 244, and that should still like cover. He will get a lot of threes, scoring a lot of points. For Indiana at Milwaukee, we're going with Indiana plus 11.5. So two main reasons for this, maybe a third, but for one, the recent trade with Tyrese Halliburton, he's been playing very well, so that's a boost for the Pacers. Minnesota played last night. Milwaukee played last night, my bad there. And then Milwaukee also lost against a bottom feeder team, but maybe that trade was good for Portland. I don't know if they won 2 games in a row. But they lost by like double digits, and then there's also a double-digit spread. It was like minus 15 in the favor of the Bucks. But with the Pacers, they have the same scenario, plus at 11.5. And Giannis' day-to-day, if Giannis is back, then Milwaukee should win. Likely cover that minus 11.5 spread. But if he's out, I say Indiana like keeps it close. They may not win, but they'll at least keep it closer than 11.5 points. And with Milwaukee, they're just so sporadic this season. Like they have these big wins against big teams, and then they just get blown out by a random team, as we saw last night. So, hence why I don't like to bet on spreads for Milwaukee, as they're just too random. I don't know. Like I try to figure out some consistency with them, then as of last night, it's like they just throw in a curveball. Don't see it coming. I will be going over 215.5, as if Indiana stays within the game, that means they'll have to score a few more points on a Milwaukee defense than Milwaukee. They have enough offensive prowess, even without Giannis there, to at least put the ball in the basket. Like even without him, they're probably would be like a mid-tier team. And then Indiana, they can light it up. Even no matter who's on their team, they have someone who can light it up. As we've seen, when everyone was injured, they still found ways to win games. For the Clippers at the Suns, well, the Suns minus 12.5. So the Clippers played last night and won against the Warriors. But can the Clippers come in and beat the Suns on their home court in back-to-back nights? Probably not. So for sure, Suns should win this one. Minus 12.5. If I were the Suns, I try to capitalize on that Golden State loss and beat the team that beat them, and just probably win this game in the first half. Like give your starters some rest. Well, even more rest. Really just take it to the Clippers, as you want to keep your winning against them, as this was the team that you beat to get to the finals. So I do see this likely Phoenix covering that 12.5 spread, as past 2 games they won by more than 20. We'll be going over 222.5, as Suns offense has been very good as of late. So they could be scoring 120 by themselves. And Clippers will probably be around that 105 range, so over 222. Thank you for watching. I appreciate everyone giving these videos views and likes, and I do appreciate it. And once again, thanks for watching.